So I'm here at the Stereo Shop in Pennsylvania, and I've known these guys for a while, but I've never actually come out to the store, and I'm finally gonna get to see what kind of vintage audio they have inside. Let's do it. Now the Stereo Shop is actually in Williamsport, PA, which is the home of the Little League World Series, so that's what this town is pretty famous for. And you know, this store has been around for a long time, and you can really tell when you get inside. Now it's a little messy, but they just had a truckload of vintage audio come in. Now they took me right to the back room to show me this Marantz set that they had in the back, but I told them, hey, let's get it out. Let's check it out up close on the counter. But first, he wanted to show me a special Thorns turntable with a very unique tone arm.
Rabco original straight line arm. This is the first one.
Wow.
Looks like the battery was left on there. That's what it lifts up. It is real Goldberg to the
So what's it
extreme.
powered by a D battery?
Lifting it. It looks like we need another deep battery. You know, and then see if we have one in there. Normally you take this off so you know when it sits for a while. But the SME base, Thorns TD125, and then the original Rabco arm. And it works by being pulled, and there's a tripwire in there. And when it gets like kind of to the right, it moves the rear end and does this all the way through and keeps it pretty much straight in the groove.
The Thorns TD125 was made from 1968 until 1975, and it was the follow-up from the TD124. Now, the SL8E tone arm from Rabco was built in the 1960s, and it was equipped with two different motors, one for arm lifting and the second for horizontal movement. Now, this three-piece Marantz set from the 1960s is pretty valuable. The combined resale on this is probably around $8,000, with this 8B amplifier commanding the most money at about $4,000. Now, the 8B retailed at $264 and is a 35-watt stereo amplifier. Again, built in the 1960s to go with this set. It should last for several years. It's built like a tank, and again, this is the most expensive piece at about $4,000. Then you have the 7T, which you can tell is the more valuable model because of the black knobs on the front. They have other variations where it's silver, and they just don't have as much value. Now, these have kind of gone down a little bit. You're looking at probably $800 to $1,500, but the back of this preamp is incredible. So the tubes come out the bottom, you have all the inputs and outputs up top, and then look at all the plugs on the left. That's just completely insane. This is one of the most famous preamps of vintage audio. Just from the sheer number of inputs, it pretty much blows everything else from the 1960s away, and that's why this is like very highly regarded. Now, you can't see the inside, but it does have the Bumblebee caps, which are also very highly regarded and sought after in the vintage audio world. Now, the 10B tuner has that tuning scope on the front, so that's that big tube that you see on the left. It's a tube tuner, and actually we're going to see this in action later because the owner of the shop actually has one in his house that's currently being used. This is a very rare tuner, and you know, it goes for about $2,000 right now, so pretty hefty for a tuner, but this one's very clean. You can see they have the etching in there. Now, this one was obviously kept probably in a wood case. A lot of times this model specifically is in pretty rough shape, and to have a set that is in this good a shape together is also very rare. You don't see this nice of a set. Again, together as a set is rare enough, right? Some people have one piece, some people have another, but to see all these together, and hopefully they're going to be kept together. Usually when someone has all three, they're going to sell it as a lot. But I mean, if you want like a really nice vintage stereo from the 1960s, that's it. And if you want a nice reel-to-reel player, there is an Akai 747 in black. Very rare. You get a Nakamichi LX3. Now, these are from the stacks of stereos that he literally just got in that weekend. It's always so interesting when they have the original reels branded. Like there's a black Akai reel. It's never been used in the box, which is also very rare. I think this is the first time that I actually saw the Akai boxes that the reels came in. It's rare enough to see the reels in general. And the case, now that is extra rare. You get a Sansui 9090 DB. You got a Techniques receiver there. Very nice. I love the little blue lighting. It looks great when it's lit up with LEDs. Super cool stuff. And there's just stacks of this all over the place. It was really cool to come in and like see everything piled up when you just got a haul this weekend. Got some original Clips Heresies. I really love seeing this stuff all stacked up like it just came in. You got a Marantz down the bottom, all silver, that like blue light up when you put the LEDs in. And you got a Macintosh 2-channel amplifier. That's the MC300, a big amp. It's a lot bigger in person than it probably looks like. We got a Sansui quad receiver on the bottom with a 5000X stacked on top of it. Now this stack is actually in the back room, so the stuff's stacked not only on the floor, but the reason that is because the back room is just completely filled from like floor to ceiling with vintage hi-fi. You got a Marantz 1150. Now this is a really cool integrated amp. Love that. Any of these Kenwoods. You have the KA 5700 here. I'm gonna go back down. Maybe I can see it a little better. There you go. So you got the QR 4500. I couldn't see it before. It was just a little bit too dark. Again, there's the Sansui 5000X and the Marantz 1150. I love these integrateds from Marantz and these integrateds from Kenwood. Whenever you see the volume knob in the middle like that, I mean, you know you have a good amp, especially with the meters. You got a Kenwood tuner if you want to match it. So in case you wanted to get the tuner, they're not usually sold as a set. Now on top you got another, you got a KA 5500, a little bit smaller but very, very similar. A Yamaha CT 610 II, then you have the Marantz 1030 right on top of it. Now back out on the counter, you got a Pioneer SA 9500 integrated amp. You got a TX 6200 tuner, SA 1000 amplifier. Oh yeah, you're good. Got a SA 5200 amplifier. I haven't actually seen that one before. SX424. And over here, you got a 2015 original box. And there it is, the 2015 for that, right there. And look, over here, check this out, the bottom of the pile. It's not a Sanyo, it's a Sankyo. And I don't know much about that brand at all. There's a realistic, a Sherwood. I've never heard of a Sankyo. I mean, I'm sure I've seen one, but just not too familiar with that. Now, of course, there's shelves full of hi-fi all over the store when you get behind the piles of stuff that just came in. Like this Marantz 4300. It's a quad receiver at 100 watts per channel, meaning why they have that 300 instead of the typical like 42 or the 2200 series. You got some newer stuff mixed in as well, but a lot of really nice vintage audio. Up here you have a Pioneer TX 6800 tuner. That's an interesting looking tuner. I don't think I've seen too many of that model. Now here is a Sansui. Now this is one of their quartz locked models. Just massive stuff. This Yamaha M80 amplifier. If you want something that's like really powerful, this M80 will just blow you away. It has the red meters that you can see in there where we can pretty much see Bert in the reflection. I try to hide myself, although look, you can see me as well. You can't get away from the glowing reflections. I have no idea what this speaker is, but it's a pretty wild looking like 3-box stack. Now on top here, I am a little more familiar with this B&W. I've had some like larger B&Ws like this, and we actually just saw one of these Kevlar cones at another store. We saw the display up on the top shelf. And then back here, you actually have the original KEF Q driver, the original unique Q. They're on like their, I don't know, 8th, 9th generation, but this is the original. And then down here is the newest generation in the LS50 Meta. You got Bose 901s, talking about some of the most famous speakers in history. Controversial, but the 901.2s, the nice thing about the 1s and the 2s is you don't have to re-foam the drivers. They're not made of foam. Now, we just arrived at his house, and here is Yamaha's best tuner they ever made, the CT7000. And this tuner, okay, weighs as much as a receiver. And I love this little flip down controls in the front. I mean, it is made definitely Yamaha's best tuner by far. And this is one of Yamaha's best turntables. It's the Yamaha PX2, and it was from 1980 to about 1983, and it's a linear turntable with a really cool dust cover that has like multi-levels to it. Then this is the Marantz ST8. It's a tuner that was built around 1980. It had that gyro touch tuner that Marantz really was made famous for. And this one actually had notches throughout it. But we all know the most eye-catching part of this tuner is the oscilloscope on the left that shows the FM signal and how accurate it is and the sound waves. So this tuner goes for about $1,000. Very rare though. Then he had a really nice 3-head JVC cassette deck, and on top of it, a rare Denon CDR W1500 for recording CDs. But this is his personal listening system. You have a massive sub. You have an Audio Quest power conditioner, a Niagara. You got that 10B in the center, which is definitely the focal point to this entire system. A Macintosh MP1100 phono preamp on top of it. But like, look at how good that 10B kind of blends into this newer system with Yamaha's current flagship 5000 series turntable on top. This is actually the first time that, it's the second time I've ever got to listen to this. First time in someone's house. I actually saw it at a show where Yamaha had it on display, but it is a monster turntable. One thing that Yamaha has done over the years is they really kept the looks of their premium hi-fi stuff kind of the same over time. And what more famous brand of doing that than Macintosh, right? So Macintosh looks the same year after year, but one brand that doesn't look the same anymore is Marantz, and there is that oscilloscope going with the FM signal, and that's what it looked like. If you have it hooked up, it's a beautiful tuner. That's why it's so sought after. But look at this system. You get the hi-fi rose under it, and I always put the tube clock on the hi-fi rose when I look at it. But man, that 7B just stands out in this entire hi-fi system as, like, to me, probably the coolest piece by far. I mean, it's just amazing looking. The oscilloscope is so bright. Usually you don't see it that bright. Look at that. Look how bright that oscilloscope is. Now, I did get sucked into the CEC CD player because of this door that you could like move to get to your CD, which is covered by a weight, so you can actually take the weight off. That's where you're going to put your CD. I don't know if it really helps how it sounds, but it is cool. Guys, I hope you enjoyed visiting the Stereo Shop and Joe's personal hi-fi system at his house. You get to look behind the scenes and see what is actually in his hi-fi system. So I hope you enjoyed it. There's some really rare stuff. But hey, see you guys in the next one.